pilots. This is your captain speaking, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I am new to this aircraft. We are going to be flying a Boeing 737 800, and I'm just doing the regular 33, the regular Boeing livery right here. So I've only flown this plane really like once, and th there's some quirks and some things that I've had to kind of figure out concerning this aircraft. One being the lights, the directional lights for the wings, sometimes they're not actually on, and there's no actual switch in your your top panel here, at least that I can find, to actually turn those on or turn them off. And so sometimes what you have to do is just hit L and to turn on like all the lights and then shut off the ones that you don't want. So yeah, I mean, I'll show you what I mean here. So if we just, let me just get rid of this, we'll unpause this. So, you know, if I hit L, like everything's off. And then if I hit L again, literally everything comes on. And, you know, for example, we don't need the landing lights right now. So if you're running into some problems, try doing that with the lights. It's also weird. I don't know if this is a bad design in the game or if this is actually how the Boeing works, but you'll notice that the landing lights are now off. Okay, but I've seen them when they're on, like here, I'll show you. Landing lights on, but if I come to here, see, they don't look, one's up, one's down. It's the most bizarre, it's got to be a bug in the game. So when I do my landing lights, I turn them on here. The taxi light, I turn it on, but I mean, I don't see any difference. I mean, so I mean, there's off, there's on, but I don't see any difference. It's on, whatever. Now, some other things that we can actually do here. We can, oops, we can open our main exit, and we can actually have the jetway come through. So that was Shift E to open up the main exit, and Control J, and the jetway's coming. So it's like we're loading up some passengers here. Now, some other things about this aircraft that I have been kind of finding out some of the quirks to it. And again, you could probably just FSX. We'll let people load up while we're doing that. We wanted to make sure that we do have the no smoking sign turned on. Fasten seatbelts. We don't have to worry about that just yet. Anyways, if you hit Shift 4, it'll bring up your engine throttles. There's the auto throttle here and the speed hold here. We'll do 235. As long as we're below 10,000 or we're below the 215 knots, that should be fine. You know, well, we can just, yeah, we'll just do that. And we're going to be flying at 19,000 feet, so we'll wait and see what, I think they're going to want us to go to 7,000 first, but we'll wait and see what ATC wants us to do. Over here, if you're having trouble, like I've had this happen where, so ATC, shut up.
American Pacific 6016, taxi 2 and hold short of runway 1 using taxiway Bravo Alpha Charlie. Contact tower on 119.1 when ready. Taxi, hold short, runway 1. Taxiway
I've had problems where I've loaded it up and the auto throttle is set and it's like trying to accelerate like into the actual airport. If that happens, turn that off, hit F1, that'll kill the throttle, and then make sure you get your parking brake on. So the other thing is and this was baffling me forever because I did my first takeoff and it was fine. And, I do my takeoff all manual, and then I switch over to the autopilot stuff. And so then I was switching over to altitude hold, and I was like crashing like right into the Washington Monument. We're flying out of Reagan. We're going up to Bradley in this flight, and I could not for the life of me figure out why, until I came over here and looked at the trim, and the trim was set to negative. So when I was hitting the altitude hold, it was going to that, switching over to that trim, and then just dropping the aircraft while I was trying to readjust the trim. And when you're, 1,000 feet up, you're just going to smash in. So my recommendation, come over here, set this to about 0, should be fine for when you go to switch over to the autopilot. So what else do we got going on here? We've got our autopilot, altitude hold, heading bug select. We can also change the degree, the bank limits, how much it's going to actually bank. If you move more internal here, you'll get your autopilot heading set up here. You've got your speed heading, nav and GPS, speed hold, auto throttle. You have your flaps as well, and you also have your speed brake, and we'll get into that more when we get to landing. This is the auto brake, and you want it on the RTO for when you're getting ready to take off. We don't need it set just to there right now. Maybe we do. I'm still learning more about what this is from what I've been watching online and stuff. When we get ready to land, we'll want to set that at 2. So this aircraft, if you're coming in on an ILS, lands really nice. It's pretty hard to screw it up, although it doesn't mean that you can't screw it up. So check your trim before you go ahead and take off. Another thing that I would suggest taking a look at is just on the references right here, where your flaps are and the indicated airspeed for those. When we get ready to take off, we're going to go with about 5 degrees of flaps, and that should be more than sufficient for us to get up off the ground, and we'll stay below the 250 mark, and then we'll start raising up the flaps, gear, all that stuff. When we get ready to take off, another thing, if you're trying to fly as close to realistic as possible, your landing lights should remain on until you exceed 10,000 feet, and you shouldn't exceed your speed of 250 knots until you've passed the 10,000 foot altitude limit. So those are just a couple of things like I've been researching and learning. If I'm wrong, please feel free to correct me in the comments. I'm always trying to learn about new things as well. So let me know. So I think we've got enough passengers loaded, so we can get rid of the jetway here. Have that back up. While we're waiting for that, we'll tune in to the ATIS.
Washington, airport information, uniform, 2339er, Zulu, wind calm, visibility greater than 20 miles, sky conditions clear, temperature 160.
And we'll close our exit as well.
Altimeter 2992, ILS, runway 1 in use, landing and departing runway 1.
So we're using runway 1. From here, it's actually not that far.
Washington, clearance delivery, Boeing, Kilo, Juliet, 7881, IFR to Bradley, ready to copy. Boeing, Kilo, Juliet, 7881, is cleared to Bradley Airport as filed. Fly runway heading, climb and maintain 1000. Departure frequency is 119.0, squawk 4645.
Oh, 11,000.
Boeing, Kilo, Juliet, 7881, cleared at Bradley Airport as filed. Fly runway heading, climb and maintain 1000. Departure on 119.0, squawk 4645. Boeing 881, readback is correct. Contact ground on 121.7 when ready to taxi.
All right, let's get out of here. and request our
Washington
taxi.
ground, Boeing, Kilo, Juliet, 788.
I'll tell everybody to turn on the fasten seatbelt sign.
Boeing, Kilo, Juliet, 7881, taxi 2 and hold short of runway 1 using taxiway Kilo, Delta, Juliet, Charlie. Contact tower on 119.1 when ready. Taxi 2 and hold short runway 1 via taxiway Kilo, Delta, Juliet, Charlie. Boeing 881.
And so we'll begin our pushback here. Whoa. Dude in the little forklift thing. You're killing me, Smalls. Good grief. So do we not see that we have a aircraft that is trying to push back? Here comes another one. Don't hit me. I need to turn that down in the settings just to ground track, like the trucks and stuff. Yeah, they add an ambiance, but they're stupid. Yeah, so we're just gonna go straight on down there, and there's where we're taking off. So we got a nice little short taxi to get there, and that aircraft is getting ready to take off, and looks like we'll be the next ones in line, assuming that there's no other aircraft that are trying to land. Let's watch them go. There he goes. It's a Beechcraft. Sorry about that camera stuff. All right, we should be good now. Oh, good. We're going to have a truck come and ram us. Wonderful. Apparently they don't have to worry about hitting themselves. What are you doing? What are you doing? And there we go. Some nice clear skies. Great evening for a flight. Across the runway here. I don't see anything there. We're there, so I think we're okay. They would have told us, I'm assuming, if we were going to get hit or hit somebody else. We just got to make this left turn right up here, and then we'll get clearance and get ready to take off. Start heading towards Hartford. And I think what I'll do is, after we get cruising and everything like that, I'll just kind of fly, and then when we get ready to start doing the descent, then I'll pick it up from there. And there we go. Okay, so I do know we need some flaps. So 1, 2, 3. That should be about 5-degree flaps. Yep, 5 degrees flaps is good. We just need to request
Washington
takeoff.
Tower, Boeing, Kilo, Juliet 7881
Oops.
at runway 1, ready for takeoff, IFR to Bradley. Boeing, Kilo, Juliet 7881, cleared for takeoff, runway 1. Cleared
The
for
wrong
takeoff,
button.
runway 1, Boeing, Kilo,
Turn the
Juliet
taxi line off.
7881.
Turn our landing lights on. And away we go. I'm going to pull up shift 7 just so I can see our airspeed a little bit better. Know when to start, rotating. About 150 knots. And it is a heavier aircraft, so if you're used to flying the lighter aircraft, you're really going to have to pull back on the stick. Don't pull back so much because you don't want the bottom of the plane to hit the ground. It's got to be still gradual. And I think we are ready to go. Let's do this. There we go. And we're good to go. All right.
Boeing 881, contact Potomac departure on 119.0.
Pull some of the flaps down.
Going to 119.0, Boeing 881.
Can increase our airspeed
Potomac
just a little
departure,
bit.
Boeing,
Go to
Kilo,
40.
Juliet 7881, is climbing through 1,100 for 1,000. Boeing, Kilo, Juliet 7881, Potomac departure, roger, altimeter 2992, Pacifica 9018, contact Potomac departure on 119.7. Boeing 881, turn right heading 055, resume own navigation, climb and maintain 1000. Turn right heading
So we'll do
055, resume own navigation, climb and maintain 1000. Boeing 881.
All right, so what we're going to do, we can see over here,
Boeing 881, contact Potomac departure on 119.85. 119.85, Boeing 881.
all right, once we get lined up here, I'm going to switch us over to the GPS. That's what he meant by follow our own navigation. So we'll let the GPS take over instead of having ATC keep telling us when and where to turn.
Going to 126.75, Piper 06 Kilo.
Oops.
Potomac departure, Boeing, Kilo, Juliet 7881 is at 3,400, climbing 1000. Boeing, Kilo, Juliet 7881, Potomac departure, roger, altimeter 2992. Boeing 881, turn right heading 085. Turn right heading 085, Boeing 881.
Now we'll wait until we get the resume mode navigation course here. Turn the brakes off. We don't need any flaps right now. We're doing just fine. There we are. So again, we're going to keep our landing lights here on, those two in the front, until we pass the 10,000 foot mark. So we've got another Boeing 737 off to our starboard, and that Beechcraft King Air is well above us.
Potomac approach wall, Charlie Golf Juliet, Kilo 2, request clearance to transition Bravo airspace.
Boeing 881, contact Potomac departure on 119.7. Mall, Charlie Golf Juliet, Kilo Zulu, Potomac approach, cleared to the Bravo airspace. Going to 119.7, Boeing 881, Viper 808, traffic. Potomac departure, Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881, is climbing through 6,500 for 1000. Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881, Potomac departure, roger, altimeter 29902. Boeing 881, turn left heading 055, proceed on course. Turn left heading 055, resume on navigation, Boeing 881.
We're still below 10,000. I would really like us to not hit that Beechcraft King Air there. Alright, so we are going to switch to GPS and that. And that's going to be our navigation.
Boeing 881, contact Washington Center on 132.55.
Unless they tell us to specifically turn.
Boeing 881. Washington Center, Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881 is at 9,300, climbing 1000. Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881, Washington Center, roger, altimeter 29902. Bombardier 908 Hotel, turn left heading 065. Turn left heading 065, Bombardier 908 Hotel.
And now we can turn off the landing lights, so you'll see that those are now turned off. No need for those. And now we can start increasing our airspeed.
Washington Center, roger. Boeing 881, climb and maintain 17,000. Climb and maintain 17,000. Boeing 881.
Here we go. 17,000.
Washington Center, orbitude 138 with you. Orbitude 138, Washington Center, roger. Altimeter 29902. Orbitude 138, contact Potomac approach on 119.0, Pacifica 90018. Climb and maintain flight level 240. Going to 119.0, orbitude 138.
You can see where we're at right now on the map. So, yeah, we're still in a lot of Class B airspace. And there's New York right here. And we're going all the way up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the video right now, and then pick up once we get a call to start descending. So see you in just a few minutes.
Bombardier 908 Hotel, descend and maintain 15,000.
All right, we've just gotten our orders here for getting ready to descend into Bradley. We haven't been told. We're still at 19,000 feet. We're just passing through New York City, that area, getting ready to head into Connecticut. And we know that we're going to be doing an ILS approach on runway 6 at Bradley. So if we go over to our map, so here we are. You can see all the Class B airspace and stuff that's going on here. And here's Bradley right up here. So we're going to be runway 6, and the ILS frequency is 111.1. So we'll do shift 2, come over here, and on the standby 111.1, and we'll leave that there for right now. We don't need to switch over to it, but at least we know that. We're also being told to turn left to 020. So we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to zoom in here. And 020. Now we've been following our GPS. We've been pretty much navigating on our own. Now it's time to let ATC start lining us up and guiding us in through all the airspace and stuff like that. So we're going to switch over to nav, and then we'll switch over here to the heading select. Okay, and we'll resume this.
New York Center, American Pacific 6723 is out at 12,900 for 3,000. American Pacific 6723, New York Center, roger, altimeter 2992, Pacifica 28, heavy, you're 300 above your assigned altitude, turn right heading 195, resume all navigation, descend and maintain flight level 360.
Turn left heading 020. Expect vectors ILS runway 6 approach Boeing 881.
Start slowing down too, because I know that
Turn right heading 1905. Proceed on course. Descend and maintain
we're
flight
going to be
level
descending
360.
shortly.
Pacifica 28 heavy.
American Pacific 6723, turn left heading 105, Boeing 881, descend and maintain 7,000.
Descend and maintain 7,000. Boeing 881.
Turn left heading 105, American Pacific 6723.
New York Center, Moody, November 27013
And then
with you.
as we've been
Moody,
doing,
November 27013.
once we get below the
New York Center,
7,000,
roger, altimeter
we're going to drop this down even
2992.
more.
Moody 013, turn left heading 060, descend and
Once we
maintain
get at 10,000, we'll turn our landing lights back
Turn
on.
left heading 060. Descend and maintain 7,000. Moody 013.
And once we get below the 250 mark, we'll start adding some flaps to help with slowing down as well. So again, pull this up here. So below 250, we can start adding up to 5 degrees of flaps.
Boeing
So
881, contact Boston Center on 134.3.
134.3. Boeing 881. Boston Center, Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881 is out of 17,000 for 7,000. Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881, Boston Center, roger. Altimeter
what I did over
992.
here, is I put on some of the speed brake, trying to help slow us down a little bit, which it's done so. And we'll add one more set of flaps. So now we're at 2 degrees.
Boeing 881, turn right heading 045. Turn right heading 045. Boeing 881.
We're going to want to get down. We'll go to 10 for right now. One more degree of flaps. Nope, didn't like that. We'll stay at the 2 degrees then. So the name of the game is to slow down.
Boston Center, Pacifica 4686 with
So we got some of our flaps down there.
Pacifica 4686 Boston Center, roger.
we're still okay. We don't have to turn our landing lights on just yet. Let's see if we can get that other set of flaps down. Still doesn't like it.
Contact Boston Center on 128.1. Going to 128.1 Beach 64 Lima.
Alright. We don't need that right now. We can see here.
Boston Center, orbit 4778 with you.
Orbit 4778, Boston Center, roger. Orbit 2555. Contact New York Center on 132.6. 132.6 for orbit 2555. Boeing 881. Contact New York approach on 132.75.
I would be happy to.
Going to 132.75, Boeing 881. New York approach, Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881 is at 11,700, descending 7,000. Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881, New York approach, roger, altimeter 2992.
And we're just about ready to turn our landing lights on. Drop this down to 200.
Viper 21 Hotel, climb and maintain 7,000. Climb and maintain 7,000. Viper 21 Hotel. Viper 21 Hotel, descend and maintain 2,700. Descend and maintain 2,700.
And now we've got our
Viper 21 Hotel.
landing lights on. There's some that are in the wheel wells, but they won't appear until obviously we deploy our landing gear, which won't be for a while. Ooh, did we catch the moon? Nice and bright. Shift 7 brings this up again. I just like to keep an eye on my altitude, my airspeed. Let's see, will it let us do our degree
Viper
of flaps now?
182, contact Boston Center on 133.25. 133.25, Viper 182.
We're almost at our 7,000 mark, and then we'll get a call to descend probably 3,000 maybe.
Viper 21 Hotel, turn left heading 155. Turn left heading 155.
There
Viper
we
21
go.
Hotel.
Ah, see, now it likes us with the flaps. Now we're at 5-degree flaps. We're going to have to descend again. just absolutely beautiful.
Mall 442, contact.
Let's just see how far out we are. Oh yeah, so we're getting close. We're gonna be descending pretty soon. Right here. Because they're going to have us, I mean, runway 6 is going to be coming in just like this. So, here, I'll show you. There it is. There's runway 6. Right there. So that's where we're coming in. So we got a pretty good lineup, actually.
Approach on 127.6. 127.6, mall 442. Orbit 1473, contact Albany, approach on 125.0. 125.0, orbit 1473.
This is just the patience part of it. But we'll descend. They'll eventually have us get over in contact with the tower. Tell us to make in straight in on runway 6 until established on localizer. In which case we'll come over and we'll switch over to the active frequency right here. Turn this over here. And then we'll hit the approach button. We'll let that line us up. And it'll pretty much coast in. We'll probably land at a speed of about 150 or so knots. We'll want to make sure we set the auto brakes. We'll set them to 2. We want to make sure that we, now of course, once we hit approach, altitude and heading and all that stuff will turn off automatically. And then we're going to need to turn off these things here so that we can actually shut the engines, put the engines down to idle and then do a reverse thrust on the landing. But this aircraft lands pretty well, and you don't need, again, you don't want a crazy flare because, with such a big aircraft, you're going to run the risk of having the bottom part of your aircraft smashing into the ground if you flare this up too high. So it doesn't need too much of a flare, and you're going to get a much more pronounced one as far as how long it takes from the rear wheels to hit to the front wheels to hit than if you're flying something like a Cessna Skyhawk, which there's very little flare. It's like boom, boom. Here it's going to be boom, and then a boom. And by boom, I don't mean crash. I just mean touching down. So we want to kill this as we approach him. We're going to want to kill the speed part, kill the auto throttle, kill the autopilot, and then hit F1. That'll cut the engines to idle. We'll do a little bit of a flare up. Nice smooth landing, and then as the front wheels touch down, we'll go into a full reverse thrust, and that'll complete the landing. And again, this one will also, I'll show you the glide slope indicator, and also has the a vertical, not vertical, like a horizontal line indicator. You'll see what I mean, to make sure that we're lined up with the runway, and then the glide slope. Another thing that's kind of interesting about this is you'll see right here, it'll light up saying that we're below the glide slope, which when we're approaching, we want to be below the glide slope. We don't want to be above it. We want to be below and intercept it. And then once we do, we'll have a little pink pip right here that will eventually come down. And as it starts to come down, it'll take care of the altitude hold. That'll turn off. And then once that lines up to here, this light will turn off. We're going to see a purple or a pink marker down here that'll shift left and right. When it's centered up, then we know that we are lined up on the runway. So this is where we'll probably get our orders to descend again, because we are getting pretty close.
Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881 with you. Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881. Albany approach. Roger. Altimeter 2992.
It's also taking maybe a little longer because I am going slower, only 200 knots. But I found I'd rather be slower than trying to rapidly slow down from like 250.
Boeing 881, turn right heading 115. Turn right heading 115. Boeing 881.
Here we go. And that's going to probably be our indication that we're going to start getting ready to descend again. This, by the way, is our heading marker.
Boeing 881.
There it is.
Descend and maintain 3000. Descend and maintain 3000. Boeing 881.
A little bit of clouds. Nothing.
Boeing 881, turn right heading 150, orbit 1473, contact Bradley, approach on 125.35. 125.35 for orbit 1473. Turn right heading 150, Boeing 881. Boeing 881, contact Bradley, approach on 127.8. 127.8, Boeing 881.
There's Bradley right up there.
127.8. Bradley approach. Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881 is at 5,400, descending 3,000. Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881. Bradley approach. Roger. Altimeter 2992. Bradley approach. Beach November 90576 Bravo. With you 7,000. Beach November 90576 Bravo. Bradley approach. Roger. Altimeter 2992.
What they're having us do.
Boeing 881, contact New York approach on 124.075. 124.075, Boeing 881. New York approach, roger. Altimeter 2992. New York approach, Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881, with you 3,100. Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881, New York approach, roger. Altimeter 2992. New York approach, Beach November 0408 Alpha, with you. Beach November 0408 Alpha, New York approach, roger. Altimeter 2992. Landmark 525. Contact Providence approach.
No, I'm sorry, we're fine. I think it's just the way the GPS was oriented. Yeah, we're fine. We're going to make a left turn in just a minute.
125.75.
There it is.
125.75. Landmark 525.
Yep, so we're going to come in here, make a left, pick it up, and let it just take us all the way in. So we are perfectly fine.
Beach Street 5 Alpha. Traffic is 11 o'clock, 4 miles at 5,500. Mooney Bravo. Report them in sight. Mooney 013. Traffic is 1 o'clock, 4 miles at 8,000. Beach Baron. Report them in sight. Boeing 881. UR2 1 miles. Southwest turn left, heading 090. Descend and maintain 1,800. Cleared ILS. Runway 6. Approach. Maintain 1,800 until established on the localizer. Contact Bradley Tower on 120.3. Turn left, heading 090. Descend and maintain 1,800. Cleared ILS. Runway 6. Approach. Maintain 1,800 until established. Tower on 120.3. Boeing 881. Mooney 013. Have the Beach Baron in sight. Beach Street 5 Alpha. Have the Mooney Bravo in sight. Beach 907 Mike. Traffic is 11 o'clock, 4 miles at 4,400. Mooney Bravo. Report them in sight. Mooney 013. Traffic is 2 o'clock, 4 miles at 6,000. Beach Baron. Report them in sight.
Okay,
Mooney
we'll switch
013.
over.
Traffic in sight. Bradley Tower. Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881 is 18 miles southwest. Inbound ILS. Runway 6. Approach.
Boeing Kilo Juliet 7881 Bradley Tower. Fly straight in. Runway 6.
There we go.
Altimeter 29902.
Fly straight in.
Okay.
Runway 6. Boeing 881.
So we can see now we've got this lineup right here. This is what I was telling you about. So it's going to come over, and once it's lined up straight here, we know we're lined up straight on with the runway, and this will be our glide slope, which will indicate that we're intercepted. So you can see we're below the glide slope. So what are we at for flaps? I can go even more. There we go. And you'll see, yep, see it already turned the heading off because of the approach. And we'll knock this down to 165.
Pacifica 6235. Contact Bradley departure on 127.8.
You can see the runway off in the
127.8.
in the distance
Pacifica
over here.
6235.
We're going to make a little bit of a left bank right here as we pick up the ILS. And as long as ATC doesn't screw up, the rest of this is just going to be gravy. There's an aircraft that just took off. Please don't hit me. So what I was saying here, so yeah, you can see this right here. We're a little bit to the right of it, so this is going to come back over. We still haven't intercepted the glide slope yet, but this will be coming down shortly. Once we hit the green marker right here, you'll see this come down. The altitude bug will come off, and then that's about it. There's the runway right there. Let's see here. Oh, you'll be fine. nose down. And we are looking good. And now you'll see the runway lights on the front there, the front landing gear. Let's see. Yep, see, glide slope's coming down. This is now telling us we are lined up perfectly. All is looking good. Now the only thing is that I don't screw this up. It's been known to happen.
Boeing 881, cleared to land, runway 6.
Thank you.
Cleared to land, runway 6. Boeing 881.
And now we have the glide slope, and you'll see that just turned off right there. I think we need this in our way right now. I'm going to shut this off, kill the autopilot right when we get close to it, hit F1, and then do a little bit of a flare up, and then we'll throw the reverse thrust on. Looking good. Yet. Not yet.
Bradley Tower, orbit 8808, 7 miles southwest, inbound ILS, runway 6, approach.
Orbit 8808,
And there we
Bradley
go.
Tower, fly straight in, runway 6, altimeter 29902, Boeing 881, exit runway when able.
And let's take a look at that on the instant replay. I'm not sure how, we'll see how good that one was.
8808, cleared to land, runway 6, follow the aircraft onto the runway.
So, I don't know how good of a flare I got. But yeah, you just got to kill that throttle, that auto throttle, and then hit F1 to put your throttle to idle, Z to disengage the autopilot, and then just do a slight flare up, and then gently bring the nose down. Once the nose hits, go into full reverse thrust. Not too bad. I mean, it could have been a little bit smoother. You can see the engine's opening up there. So, all in all, I mean, not too bad of a flight. And this is only my second time flying this Boeing 737. So, I'm going to keep playing around with this one. It seems like a fun aircraft to fly. Again, it does have some quirks to it. Like I said, with the lights, make sure that you're checking your pitch trim. Because if that's set negative, I promise you, once you take off, even though everything's manual and you pull back on the stick and you go to set your altitude hold, you're going to just take a nosedive right into the ground. So, I would recommend setting that to around 0 degrees, and that should be sufficient enough. Climb up till, you're comfortable, and then just start engaging everything on there. So, again, when you're going to land, so these are your auto brakes. So we set it to 2. So once I landed, the brakes started to take over. You probably saw that in the bottom left of the screen. And all I had to do was, once I killed the auto throttle, the speed hold switch immediately shut off. And then by hitting F1, it drops this all the way down immediately. And then bring the nose down, hold F2, and that'll give you your reverse thrust. And then you're all set. And you also just got to disengage the autopilot with I do that with the letter Z. Z enables and disengages the autopilot there. And then the approach hold doesn't matter. And again, approaches and everything, aircraft is different. It depends on what it'll turn off, what it won't turn off. This one here you can have your heading set, hit approach once you've dialed in your localizer again on your comm stack here. And on this aircraft, it'll automatically turn off the holding. Once you intercept the glide slope, it'll automatically turn this off and start your descent. And then, we landed at about 150 knots. At least that's what we were coming in at until I cut the throttle. So that's a quick little tutorial and flight vid for the Boeing 737. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. And if you've got some tips and tricks for me, please leave them in the comments below. And until next time, this is your captain signing off.